Welcome to Catch the NeoPixel Lesson 3. In this lesson, we're going to cover the winning scenario of our game, which boils down to, capturing the enemy a certain amount of times. So let's get to it. So a quick review of our code. We've created variables to store information for the left button, the right button. We've created variables to store the hero's position as well as the enemy's position. Going down to our loop, we've cleared out our pixels to kind of, clear out the circuit player going express during every iteration of the loop. We've pulled in the left button, the right button, so we can check to see if the person's pressed it. We have two set pixel colors to represent the hero's position as well as the enemy's position. We have a series of if statements that handle our ability to move the hero around the screen. And then lastly, we've introduced an if statement to check when the hero has quote-unquote caught the enemy. When the hero catches the enemy, we play a short tone and we move the enemy to a new random location. Again, the enemy's not going to stand there and take it. So now the thing is, we need to have a winning scenario. So the winning scenario could be, how many times have we caught the enemy? Which means we need another variable. We need a variable that's going to be able to help us track how many times we've caught it. Now I'm going to take a slightly different twist on this. Instead of saying caught, let's give the hero, the enemy, some health. So let's start the enemy off with a health of 5. Which, again, once we capture the enemy, if you kind of imagine, what should happen to the health? Well, the health should decrease. Again, us capturing the enemy is a good thing for us, a bad thing for the enemy. So we're going to decrease the enemy's hero, the enemy's health, every time we capture it. And let's do a quick serial print just to investigate that. That's actually what's happening every time we capture the enemy. All right, so let's pull up the serial monitor. You'll see we're getting 5s. And now let's see what happens when I capture the enemy once. All right, so you can see here the enemy moved over and its health went down to 4. So let's capture it again. 3, and I'm going to use the right button so we get to it quicker. We're down to 1, and let's use this button. And there we go. So now we're down to 0. Ideally now we should have won the game. Again, the enemy's lost all its health. So let's handle that. So how are we going to check to see if the enemy has lost all its health? Or in other words, when the enemy's health is down to 0? Well, that's another if statement. So let's do if health equals 0. That essentially means we've won the game. Again, the enemy has lost all its health. So now we have to come up with something creative that we can possibly use as a winning scenario here. I guess the one simple thing would be to simply color all the NeoPixels some set color, maybe like white. I'm going to try something different. Let's see if it works out. And that is simply to use the set pixel color with a different approach. Set pixel has two versions of it. One that takes an RGB and one that takes something that's called a color wheel. And this color wheel takes a number from 0 to 255. So let's do, I know what I want to do. I want to do this. Again, if this is too much, I will show you the simpler version, which simply is just to just color them all the same color. But hopefully I think you'll appreciate what this is doing. And then the other thing I'm going to do here, let's do 0. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what C is. So let's create a variable C up here. And let's set it equal to 0. And inside this winning condition, I'm going to simply increase C by 1. And let me do this a little bit different. Let's check for it less than or equal to 0, just in case we end up hitting it more than a couple of times before we actually win. All right, so now let's do this. Let's do this a couple of times. Now, if anybody has some prior programming, obviously at this point you're screaming like, oh my God, why doesn't he use a for loop? The reason I'm not doing that is because this particular video series is being introduced prior to teaching loops in the course. So yeah, bear with me. It pains me as well. Okay, so color wheel, think of it like the name implies. It's a color wheel. It ranges the whole rainbow of colors starting from red all the way to violet. And then by choosing a number from 0 to 255, we get some gradient color in that rainbow. And I think that might be nice for us to do. And what I've done here is by increasing it by C++, as we kind of sit there and watch, we should get the whole rainbow coming up. So crossing my fingers on this one, let's go ahead and run the program. And let's see if we get that nice little rainbow effect as our reward for capturing the enemy 5 times. All right, so let's go here. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. That's 4. And moment of truth. And there we go. All right, so we give it a second. You can see that the colors are changing between it. Obviously, there's something, I guess we could have done this a little faster. So instead of maybe increasing by 1, maybe we can increase by 5 so it gets more of a faster change. So let's make that quick change because it'll allow us to explore another. In fact, you know what? Let's do 10. So using the shorthand notation, we can increase the value of C by something other than 1. In this case, we're going to increase it by 10. So let's check it out. Let's go and win the game again. And this should be the last one. All right, so you can see we get a nice little combination of colors kind of going through as the reward for capturing the enemy. So let's go back to our presentation. And in this video, we explored how we needed yet another variable to be able to implement the idea of the winning scenario with the variable decreasing every time we captured the enemy. In exploring the winning kind of reward of the game, we saw that we could use something called the color wheel in conjunction with another version of set pixel color to change the colors to different colors in the rainbow. So the last thing left is we can always win, and that's in the next video. Enjoy.